Andrew Mack here with MMA Island and Trial by Combat. Today I'm joined by David Power, the CEO of NUCA MMA, and Coach Owen Roddy, Conor McGregor striking coach and the Vice President of NUCA MMA. Gentlemen, how are you doing?
Good, Andrew. How are you?
Good.
Fantastic, Andrew. Thanks, man. Thanks for having us on.
So I thought that NUCA was pretty well known within the States, but when I told people that NUCA was returning, they didn't know what it was. So to those people, what is NUCA MMA?
So NUCA is the first ever intercollegiate MMA promotion. Basically what we have is we've got students competing against each other from colleges all over the US. And what we're going to do is the big thing for NUCA is to make sure we're obviously putting on a big show, making things in a safe environment for these kids, and having it where it's only amateurs competing.
So everyone knows Coach Owen's background. David, what's your background?
So for me, I've been in the US for quite a while now. I came over here on a college scholarship myself back in 2005, and from there, I graduated college in the US, place in Georgia. Went on to create a sports consultancy agency that was based in, bringing college athletes over to the US, and then from there I went into creating NUCA MMA with Coach Roddy and a couple of other of our co-founders too.
So what inspired NUCA's creation?
So, obviously, myself, and another one of our co-founders, Paul, we were working on a project that was, in the college realm, So we were working with college athletes already from all over the world. But Paul was also training with Coach Roddy at SBG. So one of the times we were kind of chatting back and forth, and we were actually working with Paddy Houlihan, one of his relatives, and obviously Paul was very close with Paddy. And, we got talking about, the possibility of bringing MMA to universities, and there was no better man than to get Owen involved. One of the heroes of Irish MMA, and a great guy to deal with. So we brought Owen on and created NUCA.
Yeah, even for me, in the beginning, I knew a lot of guys that were kind of forced to choose between. I was forced to choose between going to college and becoming a professional fighter back in the day. I was going to go on after secondary school over in Ireland, which is kind of like your high school over in the US, and I was going to go on into college, but I felt that I needed to commit 100% to mixed martial arts. There was no opportunities for me to train while in college. So when I heard this idea from the guys about the opportunity to compete, train as a mixed martial artist while still getting a further education, I was mind blown. I was like, this is essential for mixed martial artists and students. One, to be able to follow your dream and stay in a sport that you love, and two, to be able to finish your education. And at the end of the day, after your pro career, you need to be able to fall back on something. So it just merged beautifully. So I'm very excited when I was asked to come on board.
So what was the process of creating the league and the brand? And how long did it take between your first, coming up with the idea and then having your first event?
Well, this is something we put a lot of work into, obviously even figuring out a system for it to work. I think we started on probably in about 2018 and around there, that we were kind of putting things together. And then obviously we had to kind of create a system on how this would work, try to work with some regulatory bodies too as well. We were going through different processes, to making sure that we had the right types of, insurance, try to make sure we could bring in some drug testing, and try to put all of the pieces together that could make this something that would work in the college system, So a big thing for us in creating the brand really was what can distinguish us from everything else, what can make NUCA be where people can associate with universities, and how can we give it that college feel. So we went back and forth, myself and Paul, going through a lot of this stuff, and we came up with the ideas to have each university kind of each team represents the university to an extent. When we've got people from Pittsburgh, we're in Pittsburgh colors. We've got people from West Virginia, we're in West Virginia colors. And a big thing for us is as we roll in from city to city, that people, the fans, can see who their fighter is, cheer on their fighter, and no matter what, get behind them. So the big thing for us was just kind of making this look as much like a college sport as possible. And I think we achieved that with NUCA MMA 1, and I think NUCA MMA 2 is going to be even better.
So you guys had your first event February 28th, 2020, which just felt like an entire lifetime ago. So, were there any obstacles regarding the college aspect of your promotion in that first event?
Not really. I think one of the biggest things that was the biggest stumbling block was to make people see that this is really happening. A lot of people, they looked at us and thought, Jesus, they're bringing MMA into universities. But at the end of the day, these clubs already existed. We didn't create the clubs. The clubs were there. There's hundreds of college clubs across the US, whether it's BJJ, boxing, MMA, grappling, and they're already happening on campus. They just didn't have anywhere to compete. So I think our biggest kind of stumbling block was to make sure that these clubs and these universities were aware that, that about NUCA MMA, and to give us the opportunity just to create a league that they can actually compete in. And when we were speaking with the universities, the main thing they looked at was our rule book. They were going through to make sure that, we were providing a safe environment, and we provided all of our different insurance plans that we have, all of the different kind of rule sets that we have, showing that it's, we are taking extreme measures, like trying to have lesser extreme weight cuts, obviously trying to, restrict some of the moves to it as well. So just trying to create a safer environment for amateur sports.
Yeah, obviously for me, our first one, unbelievable experience for me to actually get my first feel of the college lifestyle and that the support that the student athletes get. I was blown away by what we achieved at NUCA 1. But yeah, obviously they're student athletes as well, and the main focus is for them to be able to compete and still be able to attend all the classes and still make their grades and stuff like that. So amateur, our rule base for amateur MMA is really safe, and it's been practiced all over the world. They've got the bigger gloves, the bigger the shin pads, the shorter rounds. There's no sparring attacks and stuff like that. So the athletes are going to be able to compete at the weekend and be able to go back to college, at the following week. So it's great. But as I said, my first experience in UCF back in what was it, 2019 was it?
2020 February 2020.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. We were very excited, and then we obviously had to take a bit of a break.
So I've been behind the scenes at some MMA events. Cage Shine's one of the promotions I cover on the local scene. They let me basically go around, look at everything they're doing. I know how much work it takes to run a fight night. So overall, how did the event go for you guys?
I think the event went very well. Thankfully we had a great organization with Combat Night helping us out. Mitchell Shamel and his team have been fantastic with us, and we do work closely with them. The students themselves were super excited. They were on top of things, and communication was key. They were working very well with us. But I think all in all, the event went fantastic. The UCF crowd, they were brilliant. We had Armand Violi. He stole the show with his walkout.
Violi with the steal the show, of course. Yeah, some fantastic fights as well.
Yeah. So it was a great event, and we can only hope that it goes upwards from there, because NUCA MMA 1 definitely set a level and a standard of what we're trying to achieve. And also, I think with a lot of the fighters there, like we had with Cam and Brody, Arman, it showed them that they can allow it to be themselves too. That they don't have to be, kind of just restricted on who they are. Show the world who you are and compete, with your university on your back.
So 2 weeks after NUCA 1, we obviously had the COVID-19 pandemic. So that obviously has put you guys on a very long hiatus. So what was your initial reaction to COVID, both in just your overall lives and in relation to NUCA?
Well,
go ahead. You go first, Dottie.
Yeah. So on the build up to NUCA 1, I was working closely with Mitchell. So we had obviously we had all of the COVID stuff, that was coming out in the news, and we were all kind of unsure of what it was, and we had obviously put in a lot of work into NUCA 1, but we still had our floor. It was coming over from China, and it was held up, and I was talking to Mitchell, and we had like a beautiful NUCA floor, logos everywhere, looked fantastic, and Mitch was like, hey man, this is still caught up with this, and in China with this COVID thing. And I'm like, surely it's not going to be that bad. I mean, how long can this thing last? Lo and behold, the floor never came. And 3 years later, here we are just coming back for NUCA 2, so it was definitely a tough time, but I'm just glad that we were able to pull it back together because, like you said, Andrew, when we spoke privately, a lot of the kids moved on, and for us, we had to rebuild everything. All of the sponsorships we were working, all of the partnerships we were working, that kind of hiatus definitely stopped us in our tracks. But I mean, we do believe that NUCA MMA is the future, and we think college combat sports, is going to be something that's going to only grow in the next, 2 to 5 years. I think it's going to be huge. So we're just happy to be back here.
Yeah, obviously for me as well, same kind of idea. I thought of COVID as basically just a cold, and it'll be, everybody will get it within a couple of weeks. We'll be all back, and then literally, NUCA was done for 18 months almost, nearly. It was the colleges were closing. Even me personally, my gym was closed for 18 months. The equipment company that was put on hold. So for the guts of 2 years, we could do nothing. We built lots of good relationships with sponsors, and some potentially huge sponsors were ready to come on board for the second event. And 18 months down the line, everything just dried up. But myself and Dottie and Paul and all the guys working in the background, we've been been working very hard to get this back up and running. And we're so fortunate that we managed to get this event up and running. And I just think when this event is going to be a lot bigger than what our last event was like as well. So I think we're going to shock a few people. We're going to shock the MMA community. I think we're going to shock the college community as well, because everybody loves mixed martial arts. It's the fastest growing sport in the world. There's no better supporters than the college, the student athletes the students that support the student athletes in the college scene. And I think when those two merge together, it's going to be something phenomenal.
So during the quarantine, of course, your first priority was to keep yourself safe, make sure you don't starve to death. How much of a priority was it for NUCA to return?
It was always a huge priority. When you spend so much time building something, you're not going to give up. And when you see, and this was very unfortunate with COVID. So many businesses collapsed and weren't able to come back. And between all of us, all of our co-founders and people within NUCA, we were determined to not allow that to happen, So even though we looked like we were kind of, we weren't up to much in the background, we were working our butts off to make sure that we can bring this back. Because at the end of the day, we had to continue communication. And of course, some people were probably getting sick of us saying, yeah, we're coming back. But, we had to keep all of the clubs, keep staying in their mind, and let them know we do have plans of coming back. And, we went through, probably through NUCA, we went through probably 2 different presidents of each club, who were running it, by the time we were trying to start a comeback to where we are today. So I think myself and Owen and the guys, we always knew we were coming back. There was never a question of, are we coming back? It was, when are we going to be back? And that's obviously going to be December 3rd.
During your first event, I was a senior in high school. Now I'm a senior in college about to graduate. Every single college student, assuming they go through their normal 4 years, during your first event is now graduated. For those alumni who still want to stay involved, of course, they probably can't fight at this point. But is there any way for them to stay associated with NUCA to any extent?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually have some of them involved right now. Thankfully, we've stayed in touch with all of them. NUCA MMA 1 was special, and it's going to go down in the history books. When we look at having, say, 50 shows down the road, people are going to look at NUCA MMA 1, and that will be the start of the first ever college MMA. So these guys are going to be remembered. At some point, this is going to become history, part of the history of MMA. So we've always stayed in contact with these guys. We have, Sammy, he's coaching the GCU team who are going to come. They're going to be involved in our event in March. We've got Arman is going to be at the game. He's doing well for himself. We've also got Jake Holzberg. He was the president of the University of Pittsburgh club. He's actually working with us now at NUCA, and he's, kind of like college relations at the moment. So he's dealing with a lot of the universities too. Now we're going to have Brock from WIU involved in the event, and then Ethan from GCU too as well. He's a photographer, so he's going to be working on our West Coast event. So we definitely like to keep all of the guys involved. And then we've had some of our guys moved on to have good success too. Owen may touch on that as well with Jason and Cam.
Yeah, Jason and Cam, those guys I think made their debuts on NUCA 1, and now Cam is doing very well. I think he's about to go pro, and I know Jason now. He's the Combat Nights bantamweight champion, I believe. So he's gone pro and he's doing phenomenal. And going, getting that Combat Nights title. A lot of those guys go straight into the UFC or into the Contender Series. So it just showcases that these student athletes, with the competition that they'll achieve and they'll get in NUCA, sky's the limit. I envision us, somebody coming in as a freshman and then after graduating, going straight into the pro leagues and potentially being drafted to the likes of the UFC or PFL or ONE FC or Combat Nights or any of these these organizations. Sky's the limit. I'm just so excited for it.
So of course you've been saying you're going to return. At what point did you gather everyone all right, it's go time. It's time to go back, get NUCA 2 on the road?
Well, I think, we've been working on it for a while. We knew it was coming back this year. So basically, from, in 2022, we started putting the works together, thinking, okay, let's build this back, let's get sponsors on board, let's get the athletes, kind of the key members that we need to start pushing things along. Let's try to make sure we get Combat Night back in to help us out with getting NUCA MMA 2 back. So it was really in the last 6 months we started kind of piecing it together, and it was just when can we do it? Now, we've done this purposely to line us up for the future of NUCA, so this is not just the one and done. NUCA is going to be here to stay, so we're not looking past December 3rd. I don't want to make it that way, but we've already got plans that's going to be rolling in to the early spring too. So NUCA MMA 2 is going to set the place for, West Virginia, for California, back to Florida, So just to get back to you, is that really the last 6 months was more so just trying to come up with what date works. It was, once we got the fighters, we tried to build out the rosters and see where each college was at, what fighters that they had and what level they were at, and then just trying to make sure that we can put on a good show. And I don't think this one will disappoint. So definitely the last 6 months we've been kind of building it more, but here we are.
So what has been the biggest obstacle regarding this return?
Probably, obviously, I think the biggest one right now is that where we are right now, we're doing this one in Florida, right? But a lot of our fighters are not from, most of our fighters are not from Florida for this event. Now, I think the biggest thing was trying to get people committed to this event during this time, So probably what we could have done better was not do it so close to exams, because we have, unfortunately, we had a few guys that had just, they're graduating. If we had been able to pull it off in November like we hoped, it would have been a little bit easier. But that was our only real obstacle, because the guys are excited to compete, and we've had no obstacles anywhere else really. So more so just kind of getting the guys to Florida. But I do believe moving forward, that won't be the case, because obviously everything is going to be more regionalized, and the fighters will be a lot closer to home.
So, what colleges are participating in NUCA 2, and are any notable fights people should be looking out for?
Yeah, absolutely. We do have some exciting fights, for this event. We've got guys competing from Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh have always been great with us. Them, WIU, they've been involved from the very beginning. So we love to work with those guys, and we encourage more universities to come on as well. But right for this one, we've got UGA, and we've got about 5 wrestlers coming down from the club team. We've got UNC, we've got a couple of guys, Sam Gali, Ricardo Crespo, Ben Ellis, all have good backgrounds. They've been boxing for the UNC collegiate team too as well. The guys at West Virginia University, we've got a Connor Roberts. He's 3-0 in MMA, exciting character, so I think he's going to be a good one to watch too as well. And then we've just got guys throughout the card. The big one for us as well, which we're excited about, we've got the first ever female MMA bout going to be happening in the history of college MMA, which will definitely be a big one for us. We've got Selena Brown going against Lily Sheelan. Both of them, it's going to be an interesting one itself because Selena's from University of Pittsburgh, Lily's from West Virginia University, so getting a bit of the backyard brawl going on and kind of give a teaser for what we're looking at coming into February, March.
So why should MMA fans tune into this event? You know, a lot of MMA fans, they only watch UFC or they only watch like UFC Bellator. Why should they watch NUCA too?
Well, I'll jump in. Same again. So, you know, I had my first experience with college sports back on NUCA 1, and just to see how, you know, how the college gets behind their athletes, it's something that's, you know, you don't see anywhere else in the world apart from in the US. College sports in the US is on par with, you know, with any professional sport. You know, it's just the community behind the student athletes is phenomenal. So if you take that and you mix that with, you know, the most exciting sport, the fastest growing sport in the world, which is mixed martial arts, if you put the two of them together, you set yourself up for, you know, some of the most exciting competitions, some of the most exciting rivalries between colleges, between student athletes. I just think it's going to be phenomenal, and this is only the beginning. This is NUCA 2. You know, when you look back on NUCA 2 and when we're on NUCA 50, you know, this is where it all started, and you know, you're better off getting in early and getting behind us, because this is going to skyrocket.
So talking about the future of NUCA, how many events are you guys looking to put on during 2024 and following years?
You know, I think 2024 is going to be a big year for us. I couldn't see us doing any less than 6 to 10 events in 2024. I think what we're going to do, you will see it coming quite fast. You know, we'll probably have months back to back. Then we'll try to do a national tournament at some point. But I do think, you know, moving forward into 2025, our goal is always going to be to have at least anywhere from 12 to 18 events per year. That's 2025, you know, we're talking. Obviously, this is going to be less, but no, we don't want to be judged on the hiatus. This was the trajectory that we would have been going on if COVID didn't happen, you know. And then obviously with the growth we have with the universities, I mean, right now we're speaking to probably, you know, there's over 100 universities that we're in talks with coming on board. And like I said, there's hundreds of clubs throughout, so our roster of fighters is getting quite big, which is only opening up more opportunities for us. So we don't see it going to be difficult to fill these events, and we think, you know, the big thing for us is obviously being patient. You know, as we all do, you know, we want it now, but the reality is like just like the, you know, early days in the UFC, we have to grow with this. You know, like it's when you look at UFC 1 to now, it's completely changed. The sport has grown just because of that, and we think that with NUCA MMA, it's going to be the same. You know, thankfully we were at a point where NUCA MMA 1, I mean, that was a great show. It ran very professionally. So if we can even step up levels beyond NUCA MMA 1, I mean, this is going to be some exciting fights and some exciting shows in the future.
So right now you're in Florida. Your first event was in Florida. And you mentioned this a little earlier, but are you looking to go to different parts of the country and expand your college roster?
Absolutely. You know, like I said, I think we're going to probably do a second announcement pretty soon. We're working diligently on getting an event up in West Virginia. You know, it's going to be heavily between Pittsburgh, West Virginia. We're hoping to get a big crowd there. We know that those guys don't have a lack of love for each other, so I think the college fans will definitely get behind it. But I do believe NUCA 3 will be in West Virginia, and that's going to be probably the end of February, early March. Then we're also working very closely with a lot of the universities in California. The guys at Cal Poly have been fantastic, you know, kind of helping us put together an event there. So we've got some of the biggest universities in California wanting to take part in our West Coast event. So that's something that we're working on too as well. But we will definitely, this isn't just going to be a Florida show. Florida is obviously our headquarters. You know, we've got you know, a great team down here. As you said, we work close with the guys at Combat Night, and we've got a good home base here. So we will always put on big shows in Florida, but we will be nationwide.
So what is your overall goal for NUCA? I'm sure you want to be very established for like the NCAA. So let's say right now it's 2023. By 2035, where do you want NUCA to be?
I mean, we want to be dominated. We want NUCA MMA to be obviously when we're not going to be the NCAA. That's taken a lot of time, and the NCAA has had. Don't get me wrong, it's been fantastic for college sports, but we can see what the NCAA have done great, and we can see kind of where they've fallen off. What we're looking at with NUCA is, we're able to look at their blueprint and kind of see how can we make this great, So what I do see is that, in 2035 we'll have 100 events by then on, won't we?
100%. I mean, if we can start off with getting our 6 shows next year, and then maybe double it in the year after, by the time we hit 2030, it's NUCA MMA is going to be known all over the world. It's going to be well established in every college in the US. We're going to have university leagues where the freshmen come in, and then they've got their kind of level, and then moving on up through the years as they gain more experience to college champions, to individual champions, to lads being signed directly from NUCA to the UFC, signed directly to PFL, and we're going to be giving these young kids and young students an opportunity to compete in a sport that they love, and get their education while they're doing it, and for some of them they'll go on and be professionals. For some of them they'll move back into working with NUCA as referees, working with NUCA as coaches, working with NUCA as officials and stuff. I just see us, being a big establishment, and by the time it's 2030.
And then as well, just something that we're looking at doing too is that we're looking to grow, so not only, as I mentioned, stuff with the NCAA, like we do envision NUCA providing great opportunities for these fighters too, because right now we're starting off, and it's not in place, but we do see scholarships in the near future. Obviously we're not going to start off with, rosters of full scholarships, but we will be trying to implement certain scholarships for student athletes, and then also have the opportunity for them to bring in sponsorships themselves, just like the NIL and the NCAA. When you look at who we have involved in this event, obviously we've got Owen. Owen has a great storied career, involved with some of the biggest stars in the UFC, the biggest star in the UFC, and it has opened up many doors for us too as well. But for instance, when you look at some of our fighters right now, so say when we're looking at, I'll just give, whether it be Griffin or Connor from WVU, if we're going up to Morgantown in February, and we're allowing these students to get sponsorships, obviously we have to approve them too as well. Say for instance there's a tire shop, restaurant shop, wherever it may be in Morgantown, that they're not going to want to be sponsoring these kids for this event. When you've got getting sponsorships from the likes of McGregor Sports, or you're looking at being on podcasts, whether it be on Ariel Hawani, whether it be on any of these major outlets, it's going to bring great exposure to these, which obviously allows these kids to get sponsorships, which then will help cover their tuition, you know what I mean? So we're offering opportunities that aren't currently there, and we're going to be helping grow the sport of MMA this way too, because when you look at, as Owen said, as an amateur choosing between education and turning pro, or you have guys sleeping in their car or working, endless jobs just to try to pay for gym fees, try to pay for tournaments, pay for this. Like, why not compete on a big show like this, build your own profile, get exposure, and then help get sponsorships and possible scholarships to help cover your tuition? It's a winning situation no matter what, to get educated and develop your skills. And I think all in all, it's great for the MMA community, because when we have these kids, these university programs partnering with local gyms, then it also helps the gyms, because if they're bringing in 20, 30 new members, obviously that's going to help the bottom line of these local gyms. So we want to get the local gyms involved with NUCA too as well, so we can bring in qualified coaches, get the kids better trained, put on better shows, and just ultimately help the sport. So I think by the time 2035 runs around, it's going to be a completely different animal than what you're seeing now.
So just some last couple questions. How can fans watch the event either live or streaming from their house?
Well, so we've obviously, if anybody's in the Florida and the Orlando area, come down. I'll be in attendance myself. Dottie be there. Going to be some fantastic fights, as Dottie said. Got some really skilled fighters. Going to put on a big show. We've got the first ever female college MMA athletes competing, which is going to be groundbreaking for us and for them. They'll always go down in history. It's going to be a spectacular show. So if you're in the Orlando or in the Florida area, come down, get your tickets. We've got a link, Eventbrite link on our social media. And then also, if you're around the world, we've got a pay-per-view link, so anybody can tune in and watch our second event. Because this is going to be groundbreaking, and especially all my supporters in Ireland and around the US, I'd love you to tune in and just have a look at this, because I think once you see this event, you're going to see that we're onto something special, and get in get in early where we're only getting going.
And then as well, I would definitely recommend all the universities that have programs right now. I mean, definitely tune in and watch it, because this is what you're going to be taking part in. I know some people may have hesitations or they may be unsure of what NUCA is, but if you want to see college MMA, this is it. If you want to believe that you can fight in it one day, check it out. So we do recommend all of the universities, watching it themselves, just so we can kind of see what they're going to be getting into in the future too.
So for those colleges who have just started an MMA program and stuff, how do they get involved with NUCA? Who should they contact, and how is that process for them?
So what we would do is, Jake Holzberg has been the one who is kind of doing all of that for us right now at the moment. He's created the Pick Club. He's actually in the process of creating one in Houston too as well, at university there. So Jake is going to be our college kind of manager in that aspect, so he will help them go through the process of what they need to create a club, what's the fastest way to do it. But even reaching out to us on Instagram or reaching out to us through our website, just with some general questions, if the president of the club or any member, even if you're just a student at a club and you want to start a club, I mean, if you contact us, we will have one of our guys reach out to you, and we will take you through the process of it, because it doesn't take a lot, so even when you're thinking, people are probably like yourself, as you spoke about Mary Mac, you may only need 2 or 3, a few people who are interested, because what it takes for these clubs, and the reality is that a lot of these clubs have 40 to 60 members, which is big, but at the end of the day, maybe only 6 to 10 of them are either able to compete or want to compete. So we're not saying that everybody who is a member of the club has to compete with NUCA. But as Owen mentioned, we are going to be opening up the kind of JV program. Maybe in 2025, 24, we'll have some JV events where people can kind of get their feet wet in college MMA without having to be under the big lights and go through the more stiff competition. So all in all, if somebody is interested in competing in NUCA MMA or starting a club, contact us on Instagram, or else go to our website, fill out an information form, and one of our guys will contact you.
So I've been a fan of NUCA since the start. How can someone like me or other people who really want to see NUCA grow help you guys grow and really become established?
I suppose just by getting behind the second event, if you're not in the Florida area, buying the pay-per-view, around the globe, buying the pay-per-view and getting behind NUCA on the second event. If you're in the Florida area, it would be great to have some of that college love, some of the local clubs love. Come down, it's you can use that as an excuse for your Christmas party. Come down, bring your students along, watch some cool fights, look, get a look at NUCA and how we're doing things differently, and just follow us on social media, get behind us, and be part of something special, because this is going to blow up, and I'm very excited. Dottie's very excited, so get behind us.
Awesome. Any closing remarks, final statements, any sponsors or shout-outs you want to give?
I obviously, big thank you to all the sponsors that got involved for this event. We're always open to talking to new sponsors, and be good to get in early, because as this blows up, it's going to be hard to get involved. But obviously, Title Sports is involved, so big shout out to them. Title, McGregor Fast, Sports Stow, shout out Fight Goods. And I think we have a few more getting involved as well. We appreciate the support, and we're getting support from them early, and we will support them all the way through the growth of NUCA MMA.
All right, thank you for your time, gentlemen. I'll be tuning on the pay-per-view.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.